Hello there, SLA students. This is just a quick video to take you through the SLA midterm. This way you can listen to it as many times as you want and press pause or slow it down or take notes, whatever you need to do. We'll also discuss this in class, of course. But here we are in an SLA Google Classroom. If this is not your Google Classroom, don't worry, it's also in your Google Classroom. So I'm going to go to the classwork tab to show the assignment that will appear in week 8 because it's due week 10. So we give you the 2 weeks to work on it. It's kind of the standard policy. I'm going to just open up the assignment here and show you what you're dealing with. Basically, it's called the SLA in the RSLP or PSLP assignment. Now, if you haven't gotten the PSLP yet, you will get it in week 8 for sure. The RSLP, of course, you've already done and you've already submitted, and your teachers will have them back to you within a week. You can also, you have 2 choices for this. So either you can use the RSLP that you've already written, or you can actually simultaneously write your PSLP for methodology and also write this assessment. There are some advantages to that, and that is you can be thinking about the concepts and theories from SLA as you're writing the PSLP, and that will kind of help you to be clearer and specifically apply those concepts as you write the SLA midterm. Or of course your RSLP, it's already done, so you would have something immediate to focus on. That's your other option. Alright, so basically what's happening is you're going to choose 2 SLA concepts that you used in either the RSLP or PSLP. And by the way, sometimes students ask, can I do one from the RSLP and one from the PSLP? And my answer to that is sure, why not? If that's what you want to do, go for it. So basically it's just 2 paragraphs. So that's 2 body paragraphs, which you should all know how to write from your experience in ASD or anywhere else you learned how to write a body paragraph. So what that means is topic sentence, controlling idea, examples, and a concluding sentence for each. Now, your concluding sentence should do one of 2 things. It should either kind of summarize and wrap up that body paragraph, which is what they usually do, or if you want to get fancy, you can summarize and transition to the next body paragraph. And so that's a little technique that you can use there if you choose to go that way. But feel free to just conclude and start again a new body paragraph in the second one. One of the things that you're also going to include is an appendix, and we're not too strict about the appendix format. I can also post a video of how to make an appendix, but basically the only skill you're going to need is being able to take a screenshot and highlight that screenshot and plug it in at the bottom of your page. And I'll show you an example of that here, which I've made in a little mini example paragraph of what you could do. Each paragraph, again, it's going to be the body paragraph structure, but the specific format is less important than the content. So here's your content. You want to have a 1-sentence description of the concept that you use. 1 sentence. Now you don't have to get into detail about everything that concept is about, like everything that you know about I+1 or everything that you know about pushed output, but just a nice short and sweet definition. Remember to keep in mind that the reader doesn't necessarily have an SLA background, so you want something that would be clear to anybody what you're talking about. Don't assume that any of those SLA concepts are known to the reader. Imagine you're writing for just a random person who can make sense of English and academic English, but you have to make the techniques and the concepts that you're talking about nice and clear. And you want to have a reference to your appendix entry somewhere in the paragraph. You want to have a brief description of how you applied the concept in the activities or interactions. And feel free, if you want to use more than one example in one paragraph, you're allowed to do that. In fact, my example paragraph has 2 examples. You can do that if you like, or just one good one would be fine for each body paragraph. Brief description of how you applied it. You can't just say, look at my appendix entry, describe what's going on, and how it helps learners develop their L2, how it relates to the concept you're talking about. And of course, you know what to include in a body paragraph. You can write right here in your template. You don't have to attach another document or a PDF. As a matter of fact, it's much better if you do everything in this Google Doc so that your teacher can give you feedback directly in the Google Doc and send it right back to you. So no attachments necessary. Your description of your activity and your appendix entry should make everything clear. This is your rubric, and you can go over that if you wish. Basically, there's one part of it is for paragraph 1, one part of it is for paragraph 2. These are identically written, and you can go over that for all of the things that we're looking for. This is a model answer of just one paragraph, but this paragraph includes 2 concepts. Remember, you only have to do 1 concept, but if you want to do 2, feel free. And this is actually labeled 2. There's a topic sentence with a controlling idea, and then there's a 1-sentence introduction to the relevant theory. Vygotsky posited that learning takes place through social interaction, whereby the learner is guided to his or her zone of proximal development through scaffolding by a more knowledgeable other. That's a really good 1-sentence summary of the theory. And then you want to clearly and concisely describe the part of the lesson and the activity and interactions. Note that it says concisely. You shouldn't have to write a lot about your description. You should be able to write it in a few sentences, make it crystal clear, and you don't have to explain every detail, but you do need to show how the theory applies as clearly as you can. And notice here it says Appendix A. This is one way to do this. You can say Appendix 1, Appendix 2, Appendix Chicago, Appendix New York. Doesn't really matter as long as you have a name for each appendix. As a matter of fact, I will scroll down to the appendix at the very end and show you what that looks like. Then you want to state briefly how you applied the SLA concept in the activities and interactions. So the students are paired up, so there's a more proficient student in each pair, allowing the higher level students to adopt the role of the MKOs, which I've already defined, right? I defined it up here when I defined the theory. So it's not a new concept, and I'm not assuming the reader knows what an MKO is. So that's important too. And helps the peers into the ZPD. How does it help learners develop their L2? This encourages and enables the lower level student to produce more or better ideas and pushes development by not only using what they can already do. So you're encouraging development. And here comes another example. In the establishing context part, the same partners summarize the teacher's instructions before the listening activity. A little instructions summary. And so that tells me what's going to happen in the second one. And then there's another Appendix B. And now it's showing how does this relate to the concept. Well, summarizing allows for the MKO to scaffold understanding, and therefore of the other student who may not have understood the instructions and therefore would struggle to follow the listening without the support of their partner. So that shows a really good example of Vygotsky in action. And there's a little more here. Summarizing in this way means that students are interacting with peers and the teacher is not the only MKO. That's also a very helpful statement. And here comes a concluding sentence that wraps up the whole thing. In these ways, Vygotsky's sociocultural theory helps students expand their language use beyond what they could produce alone. All right, so that's a good concluding sentence for one paragraph. It's wrapping up that single paragraph. And remember, as I mentioned earlier, if you want to transition to the next idea, you could do that here as well, but it's not necessary. You can just summarize it as I've done here. And then this is to remind you, there's a second paragraph that's missing. I've only given you one paragraph. And by the way, I should mention that the example is about Vygotsky, so please, you cannot use Vygotsky for your midterm. There's just too much here that you might be tempted to borrow, or it's hard to do this. It's hard to do this with this example using Vygotsky and using a lot of different ideas, different words. So all of the other concepts are up for grabs. Make sure you work alone on it, and be careful, as always, with how you use the model. You could be tempted to cut and paste the model and change some words, but that's not what this assignment is about. So this is not a template, right? This is a model that's supposed to inspire you to make your own thing. So I shouldn't see, for example, Crash and posited that learning takes place through comprehensible input, right? You want to use your own words as much as possible. Okay, and here's the appendix. Now what I've done here is I have just taken a screenshot of the relevant parts of this RSLP. Now Appendix A needed to show pair work. It needed to show what I was talking about, which is that they are brainstorming about how to get arrays in pairs with an MKO, and I just show exactly that part of the RSLP where that's done, exactly that interaction, and I've highlighted it. So please don't attach an entire page of your RSLP, just the relevant parts. And another thing here, because this teacher talk and the student talk are related, I've highlighted both of those so you can see the full interaction that I'm talking about. Same thing with the other one. I've got the pair work summarizing happening in the teacher talk and the student talk. And also, please be mindful of the size of your appendix entry. It shouldn't be something that is hard to see. This is about as small as I would put it in there. You don't want it to be a strain to see. You want to make it as clear as you can while showing everything. Okay, so that's the appendix. That's the content of the midterm. Also, here are this is just here for your information. Here are some concepts you could include, going all the way back to first language acquisition, up through Swain and Long and phonemes and motivation and rewards, which would be week 9. So you can use any of those, any of these specific concepts. Find a couple places for them. Okay, and if you have any questions, of course, you can always reach me by email or office number 402. or come to digital office hours at your leisure. Alright, thank you very much for watching the video, and I will see you in the classroom.